I watched her take on the biggest bully in the industry. Hi and welcome to Flossom Talk. I'm Kjersti Flaa, and here on my channel I talk about my good and bad experiences in Hollywood and working as an entertainment reporter. I'm still super jet lagged, so I'm sorry if I'm being a little confusing here. I'm still working on getting my body back to normal after traveling. I'm so bad with jet lags. I'm in Spain. If you missed my last few episodes, I'm in Mallorca in Spain, and that's why things look a bit different here. And I'm really struggling with jet lag and bad sleep. So if you have any tips for me on how to get over a jet lag quickly, I really would appreciate it. Anyways, I also appreciate all of you guys for all your support and for stopping by my channel again. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode of Flossom Talk. So one of you guys sent me this a little while ago. This happened in New York City 7 years ago, actually. It was for Variety's Power of Women luncheon. And Blake Lively was got an award that was handed to her from Salma Hayek. Salma Hayek and Blake Lively have been friends for a long time. They were in the movie Savages together, and Salma Hayek was pointed out to give her this award for her work and for her charity work to help children and to help children that are being and all these horrible things. Anyway, so she was doing this speech beforehand talking about how amazing Blake Lively is and what a good friend she is. And then she said something really interesting.
I am here to talk about Blake Lively. So much courage. I mean, I saw her take on one of the biggest bullies in this industry that everybody feared. She was like, bring it on, baby. What's your problem?
Yeah, she said, I watched her take on the biggest bully in the industry. I'm assuming that's Harvey Weinstein. I don't know who else it would be. Funny enough, you know, Blake Lively's publicist Leslie Sloan was sponsored. Her company was financially backed by Harvey Weinstein, and I've never seen anywhere publicly that Blake Lively has been gone out against Harvey Weinstein. So this must have happened in a moment, I don't know, where they were all together, because Salma Hayek was there and she watched it. But the interesting fact about this is that Blake Lively apparently took on the biggest bully in the industry, but she could not tell Justin Baldoni that she was being uncomfortable in a scene. I mean, it just doesn't add up. How was she able to take on Harvey Weinstein and not being able to take on Justin Baldoni? It makes no sense to me. I think this is just another story of how telling all of this is. Another very interesting fact that happened at this event, there were so many things happening at this event that I'll get back to as well, but was that Blake Lively was asked by a reporter what her go-to power outfit is. And she snapped at the reporter asking her or him, I don't know, I've actually never found that clip. I just found people talking about it. And she snapped back and said, would you ask a man about that? Have we heard it before? Yes, we have. Yeah, as you know, she asked me, she did the same thing to me. But anyways, I love that Access Hollywood actually talked about it here and said, you know, that's just unreasonable of her. They were criticizing her for it, which I was like, oh.
But I felt like it was just kind of rude. I feel like these reporters are standing out there trying to think of anything they can ask. It's not an easy position all the time. And she could have been like, okay, well, this is the...
Like, you have to remember how you represent yourself. So sometimes she's very heavy on fashion, so that's what people will think about. Even more than her roles. If you think about it, what's the last role she's been in?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna talk about your fashion.
All right. It's funny how celebrities keep complaining about reporters and their questions and that they don't like the questions. And the fact is, I was just having dinner with a friend of mine here in Mallorca. She's also a reporter, and we were talking about how you can never win in these situations because there is never a right question. I'm going to talk a little bit later in this episode. I'll talk about an episode that I read about that happened recently with Viola Davis when a reporter was kicked out of the interview for asking her something that was so relevant. Anyways, I'll get back to that. Now, talking about this event. At this event, Blake Lively was talking about children and the importance of protecting children against all these horrible things that can happen to children.
And for those of you who have children, I think you know what I'm talking about. I mean, if you think of what you would do for your child, I don't think there's anything you wouldn't ask of yourself.
So fast forward to 2022. There's a big scandal. Balenciaga is promoting this horrific marketing campaign that everyone is like, what the F are they thinking? It was with children, with teddy bears, it was just like outrageous. And everyone was just like, wow, what happened here? Who's behind this? How could this have been greenlit? And how could anyone let this happen? It was awful. Some celebrities came out and talked about it. One of them was Kim Kardashian, and she said that, as a mother of 4, I've been shaken by the disturbing images. It's the opening that I think is most revealing. I've been quiet for the past few days, not because I haven't been disgusted and outraged by the recent Balenciaga campaigns, but because I wanted an opportunity to speak to their team to understand for myself how this could have happened. Of course, Blake Lively didn't come out and say anything, even though she has proclaimed how important it is to protect children. But as the person who sent this to me reminded me of, Salma Hayek's husband is Francois-Henri Pinault. He is one of the richest men in the world, I think. And guess what he owns, amongst a lot of other luxury brands? Balenciaga. Yes, of course, Blake Lively didn't stand up against this when it happened. But what she did do was, about a year later, she was wearing Balenciaga with Taylor Swift. I think it was at the Super Bowl, actually. And showing off this tracksuit, this very red tracksuit that she knew she was going to get photographed in. And I think it just shows the hypocrisy of Blake Lively and other celebrities that are pretending to do so much good in the world, and what they're doing is basically just interested in promoting themselves. Talking about charity, Ryan Reynolds is at it again. He is trying to clean up his image with showing the world how much good he's doing. Yesterday I talked about his wine, which I don't know that's gonna benefit. But anyways, today he is showing off a t-shirt saying "finish it," which I think would be a great t-shirt for what he and Blake Lively started. So maybe you just finish that. But this is for a charity thing. It's for supporting cancer research in Canada. I don't think it's a good idea for Ryan Reynolds to put his face or name on anything right now. I don't think this is going to help any cancer research in Canada. Anyways, I was just looking at the photos of him. He looks a little forced smile, I think, very happy. He is not staying away from social media, even though, of course, he has to close off the comment section because, yeah, he got 10 comments on this post. I can see, and they're all like really good and hearts and celebration, and he's amazing, blah, blah, blah. So those are his 10 friends, I'm assuming. Anyways, as I said earlier in this episode, there's another story that I read about in Sweden today, actually, about a journalist that was kicked out of an interview with Viola Davis. The reason I find this so hypocritical is because this journalist, first of all, she was from P1, the culture section in Sweden, which is a very like serious journalistic radio channel. It's like BBC in the UK, I guess you could say. And of course, when you are working for an outlet like that, you will want to ask real questions. And Viola Davis was producing this movie, and she also plays the President of the United States.
I implore all world leaders to join me at the G20 summit.
And the movie is apparently about the G20 meeting that's set in South Africa, I think, in the film, which is also the place where the G20 meeting is set in real life this year. But anyway, so this reporter walked into this virtual interview and sat down, and some publicist or someone told her like 2 minutes before she was going on, like, don't ask any political questions. And she was like, whoa, okay, first of all, You should tell someone a little bit beforehand that they can't talk about politics when the movie is basically about politics. I've had this experience before myself. You know, I know Hollywood is terrified of politics. They're so scared that actors are going to say something that might harm their movie, that people won't go and see it, and they will lose money. So it's all about the bottom line here. That's what we always have to remember in Hollywood. It's always about making money. So this reporter, I guess, started asking questions about the movie. And then she asked a question that I think is so relevant. She asked because now Disney is being investigated by Federal Communications Commission that's looking into their diversity, equity, and inclusion practices. And Viola Davis is producing this movie herself with her own company, which is called V Production Company, I think. And it says on their website, their work is transcending boundaries, challenging convention, and embracing diverse voices. So even this movie, it was directed by a woman, a Mexican woman, and a black woman is playing the president. And yeah, so basically she's been very open about how important diversity is. So this question from the journalist was like how she feels about this investigation into Disney for their diversity programs when that's something that's so important to her. And she was kicked out of the interview. There was a little snippet where you could hear like some publicist or someone was like, oh, well, this is about the movie. And then they just like shut off the video. So this reporter got really upset, which I completely understand. This is just so hypocritical. They always want to educate us of what we should think and what we should feel about things and about politics. But as soon as we ask them a question about it, and as a reporter, like this woman is pointing out, why am I not allowed to talk about reality and the real world as a journalist? Yeah, you're not. And the thing is, so either if you talk about something important or something happening in the world or politics, you can't do that. But if you come from a more personal angle, which they would consider gossipy or whatever, too private, you can't talk about that either. So they want you to ask questions about the movie, about the arch of the character. Yeah, the fact is no one wants to watch those interviews where actors just talk about finding their character and what they felt like when they read the script and what it was like to work with this director and blah, blah, blah. And apparently Viola Davis had complained after the interview and said that the question made her feel really uncomfortable. Yeah, it's so interesting to me that Hollywood keep preaching about free press and democracy and all these important things that I also think are very important. But then at the same time, they're kicking out journalists for asking real questions. It's funny because I spoke to another colleague of mine a while back and he was like, he had this conversation with a producer and she said, oh my God, I miss the days when celebrities would just like, you know, saying really unconventional things and creating controversy in these press junkets because it actually did create some buzz around the movies. Now they're just sitting there being politically correct and super boring and no one wants to watch it. I think the last time something minor interesting came out of one of those press junkets was when Ariana Grande grabbed Cynthia Erivo's finger and held on to it. And it kind of became a viral moment because it was so ridiculous. That's all the things. I can't remember the last time I saw anything that made a headline or was any way interesting to watch. Yeah, no wonder people are losing interest in Hollywood. Anyways, that's it from me, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And please keep sending me tips. I love it. And keep commenting. I'm trying to get through the comments, but sometimes there's a lot, which is amazing. So please keep doing it. And please subscribe if you haven't or hit the notification bell. And yeah, I'll see you in my next episode. Bye.